So Keith, can you tell us how common is it for homeowners to have this kind of fight with their insurance company that goes on for so long?
Well, I think homeowners that hire representation because they're concerned about how the insurance company is handling their claim, or they're concerned about getting the proper assessment diagnosis of what they perceive to be sinkhole activity. And when the claims go into the hands of a homeowner's representative, then quite often they can go on for some time because the insurance companies for the past several years, if not longer, have really dug in their heels on how they're handling sinkhole claims, especially when it comes to identifying whether or not there's sinkhole activity, and then secondly, what the proper remedial measures are going to be to repair the sinkhole conditions.
What type of methods do insurance companies like to use, and what type of methods do homeowners typically want to use?
Well, the most common method of sinkhole stabilization that the insurance companies, through their engineering experts, want to use is a system known as sinkhole remediation compaction grouting, which is typically a system where they inject a cementitious material, a liquid concrete, down into the ground, all the way down to the limestone layer, and then they withdraw the pipes, and it eventually, the idea is that it's going to seal any cracks or fissures or voids in the actual limestone layer to prevent further raveling of loose soils down into the voids. And then also, as they withdraw the pipes, it's supposed to densify and solidify the upper soils so that the structure on the surface no longer continues to settle. With regard to homeowners and their own expert representatives, whether it be a geotechnical engineer or a geologist, there are systems known as kind of a combination method of remediation, and homeowners and their experts and their attorneys typically prefer this because it's a more substantive method of remediation in a lot of cases, and it combines what I mentioned before with regard to compaction grouting with a system of underpins, which are literally steel pins that they pound into the ground all the way down to the limestone layer, generally along the perimeter of the house, but in some cases underneath the interior floor slab. And so you've got literally a house and the foundation resting on a system of underpins and pilings all the way down to the limestone. That, coupled with the compaction grouting, gives you a very complete method of sinkhole remediation. And a lot of the experts out there that advocate for that system can pretty much guarantee that the house is not going to go anywhere once that system is in place. The problem with that approach, in my experience, is that the insurance companies are pushing a system of compaction grouting as a standalone method. Because of the cost considerations, it's considerably less expensive to do that than it is to do the combination method. In many cases, if you did the underpinning approach, especially when you do the underpinning along the perimeter and under the interior slab, coupled with the compaction grouting, the cost of that can exceed 2 and 3 times the actual value of the home. And so it could very well be a cost consideration for the insurance companies as to why their standardized approach has been for years and years now, compaction grouting as a standalone method.
Now, I understand that in this case, the homeowner wanted the other method that you described, and citizens wanted the cheaper method, and they ended up using that cheaper method, and now we have this gigantic hole. What does that mean to the future of people trying to figure out what to do with their sinkholes?
Well, in this case, and I don't have the details of this case, but it's my understanding also that the homeowner did not necessarily agree with how the insurance company wanted to remediate the sinkhole, and retained their own representatives and experts, and they came up with a different approach to remediating the sinkhole, and that created a situation where the parties could not agree on how the house was going to be remediated. And eventually the homeowner, because of another case that happened in Florida with the Seffner sinkhole and a house being basically devoured and there was a loss of life, the homeowners got a little bit concerned, and they eventually ended up agreeing with the insurance company's approach, which was the standalone compaction grouting. And when that process began, that's when this house almost got swallowed up. How do they resolve that? That's kind of the million-dollar question. I don't know that these cases where homes get completely devoured by sinkhole activity are widespread enough for the insurance company to change or even give further consideration and more weight to homeowners and their experts' approaches to how sinkholes should be remediated in the future.
So many homeowners have been worried that this could happen to them. They were worried after the Seffner incident. Now they're going to be worried again. What can people do if they're worried about a sinkhole at their house and they're fighting with the insurance company?
Well, the first thing homeowners need to understand, and I hope there's been enough of these cases on the news and in the media that most people are aware that, you know, the insurance companies over the past years have really dug their heels into how they're handling sinkhole claims. Homeowners should be informed about what the various processes are for, number one, determining whether there is sinkhole activity or not that's causing damage to their home, and then that there is representation available for them. There are companies out there, public adjusting companies, law firms out there, geotechnical engineering firms, geologists that are available to help them and assist them and guide them through the process if they suspect that their home may be damaged by sinkhole activity.
So if you suspect it, you call your insurance company, the insurance company comes out and says, no, you don't have a problem, or yes, you have a problem and this is how we want to resolve that problem. Should you just take that at face value, or should you hire someone to represent you?
Well, I believe that without a doubt, homeowners that are not well versed in sinkhole activity and sinkholes and the type of damage that sinkholes cause to your home, they should contact their own expert representative to help guide them through the process.
And we've seen the Seffner sinkhole and this one now, and they're both, you know, big, they're making national news, but is this rare for this to happen?
Yeah, I think it is rare for the type of sinkholes that make the evening news to happen, the type of sinkholes that actually open up, you know, 20 feet wide by 15, 20 feet deep and swallow a home. Those types are rare. The more common type of sinkhole is much more subtle, and it's loosening of the soils that is allowing the foundation in the home to settle ever so slightly, causing cracks in the exterior walls and in the drywall. And in pool shells, you start losing a little bit of water from your swimming pools. You start having cracks in your ceilings. Tile flooring starts popping. The damage there is much more subtle. Nonetheless, it is sinkhole. It could be sinkhole related. That type of damage is something that the insurance companies, through the legislature in previous legislative sessions, has changed as to whether or not that type of damage qualifies as a sinkhole loss. So these days, with the insurance coverage as it's been changed, homeowners almost have to sit back and wait for their house to fall into a big hole before making a claim. And that's the unfortunate part of this whole thing, is what the lawmakers and the insurance companies have done to our sinkhole coverage.
Well, that's a really scary thought, that you have to wait for it to get to this point before something will happen.
You have to wait till it gets to what is now statutorily defined as structural damage. And in most cases, that type of damage is not reached. You could have tiles that are popping up. You could have cracks developing in your exterior walls or in your driveway or pool deck or ceilings. And the damage, according to the insurance companies and their engineering experts, may not rise to the level of that structural loss. And therefore, even if you do have sinkhole activity beneath the home or the structure causing those changes in the structure, it may not qualify, and therefore there is no claim.
Okay, so if you're living in this area and this is near you and you're concerned, how concerned should you be?
I think any homeowner in the areas of Florida that have a high propensity for sinkhole activity, you know, northern Hillsborough County, eastern Hillsborough County, certain areas of Pinellas County, Pasco County, and certainly Hernando County, especially if you've got changes that are happening to your home, you should be concerned, and you should get the insurance company to come out and begin an investigation, especially if those damages are getting worse very quickly.